Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to episode 5. I can't believe we're there already.
Yeah.
This is rolling along so quickly. Hey, Kate.
Oh my gosh, I know it's been a month or more. Wow.
Wow. 5 weeks, almost
Yeah,
a month and a week.
right.
Wow. That's
It's
unbelievable.
wild. Yeah, I think there was still snow in my out the window when we
Yeah.
started this for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, that's wonderful. We're having a good time with it, and we
Yeah.
hope you folks out there are having a good time. So, on tonight's episode, we are going to be talking about Kate's little dilemma. And her dilemma is I need to buy a new camera and some gear possibly. And so, what do I need to do to make that happen? So, I think that's a question for a lot of people out there who maybe have had older cameras and they want to upgrade, or maybe you're just using your smartphone and you want to enter into the camera world. So, what we've compiled 10 things that you should be looking for when you're going out to buy a camera. Now, this is not going to be about brands or specific models because we're not going to recommend anything that way. I have a page I'm going to show you where you can go that is very user friendly, and you can look there all you want and you can get some great recommendations. I'll talk about that as we get deeper into it. But this is more about I'm in that mode. I need to do something. What are the steps that I should do to get me to my goals? So before we get into those questions, I'm going to pass it over to Kate, and then Kate can start telling you a little bit about what's going on with her.
Okay. Is that my signal?
That's your signal.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so I feel my conversation is going to be about like Canon just because I'm using a Canon camera and it's the 5D Mark III, which at one point was my dream camera. It's the best. It was the best on the market for the Canon world for video, even though I didn't do video and taking photos. And it still performs. It's not that it's broken or it's taking photos that aren't good. Um, this is just where I'm at. So it's very heavy. It's a very heavy camera, and my massage therapist can attest that after I've done a long day of shooting, I am in pain. So, the camera body is heavy, the lenses are heavy, all in my bag. It's heavy, and usually it's my right side is feeling a little lopsided and tight. So it's heavy. And because it's heavy, I I have had a hard time sometimes focusing because I'll take a photo, especially if I have a bigger lens on it, and then I will drop my arms. So, it's taken a lot of practice and I have to take the photo multiple times just to make sure that I've gotten it in focus, crisp, clear. Too many times I've gotten home and seen that money shot and it's not quite right and I know exactly what happened. So there's that. There's noise. The click of the camera can be thunderous, and that is becoming more apparent in places where I want to be not apparent. It could be anything. It could be wildlife. It could be, a wedding when you're up in the business
Mhm.
of the ceremony. You do not want people to even know that you're there. Uh, it- just recently, I was on the set of a movie being filmed as the photographer on set, and can I just show you how loud this is when it
Yes,
clicks?
yes, absolutely.
So when the director called action, I was not able to shoot because of this. I'll be able to hear this because I have, oh, sorry, it's on self timer from the shoot I
I was
just
going to
did
see the
yesterday.
timer light flashing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, so there's just a few things. So the autofocus is huge, smile tracking, eye tracking for different ways that comes in handy. The back of my screen, it's just flat glass. I
Yeah.
can't move it. The amount of people that try to do this on the back. And
Yeah.
it's just technology that we've become accustomed to on our phones, for example, to check on clarity, to check, well, for clarity, really, like just to be able to do this on the back. Okay, so I
Yeah.
think I'm good now to show you how noisy this is. Could you hear that?
Oh, no. You know what's going on is your noise suppression, it shuts it off. So the only thing coming through is
Oh,
your
yes,
voice.
yes,
So
yes.
don't worry about it. I think
Okay.
most of us
Yeah.
know that when you hit a camera, they make quite a little click.
If you clap your hands, that's what it sounds like. So, anyways, those are a few, you may say, minor things, but I
Yeah,
do find that I want to be more streamlined with technology and the weight. I'm unable to travel with that camera efficiently. It stands out like a sore thumb if when I do travel with it, so if there's but even if a thief did steal this, almost 15-year-old camera now at this point, I don't think he would get too far with
yeah,
that. So anyways, so that's just kind of where I'm at right now. So
okay.
um yeah, I've done some comparison shopping in the Canon world. But like what are your thoughts on like what I've said or what you've seen?
Well, I went through what you did. I started out with a DSLR, and it was a Canon as well, because I guess we're both Canon people. Not
Mhm.
that that's, you can be whatever brand you want, but that's just the cameras that we happen to shoot. And I started out with the 6D Mark II, which is in size, it's about just about the same size as what you have there. So it had the mechanical shutter and all that kind of stuff. And I do a
Yeah.
lot of wildlife stuff. So when you're out in the mornings, really early in the mornings, and you're trying to be very quiet, maybe approaching something in a boat, and then all of a sudden there it is, and you start click 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 click.
Mm,
Animals hearing generally are better than ours, and so a lot of the
mm,
times that can be a little bit of deterrent. So I can understand your
mhm.
not wanting that clicking sound. So that's for
Yeah.
sure. And that was one of the things that when I went to a mirrorless camera was if you wanted to, you can use just a totally electronic shutter. So there is no opening and closing of a shutter device. So basically you could fire off a couple of hundred rounds and not even know you did. It's that quiet. Or you can incorporate something back in it. But yeah, so I can see that being a big part for you. And that was one of the things that I found as an improvement. The other thing that I think on your camera, you still have an optical viewfinder, right?
I have the option of live view, but it's very delayed. I don't find it really tracks in real time. I don't
No,
like
but I
using it.
mean like in your viewfinder itself.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
that is, that's optical and electronic?
Yeah, I can make it go on the back of the camera as well. I
Okay.
can make it go live. I just find it's very clunky. It's not like it kind of tracks a little
Yeah,
bit.
it would have been if it
Yeah.
is electronic. Yeah, I don't mean the big screen in the back, but just the little one you look through, right?
Oh, yeah, no, there's nothing there. It's
No, no,
just
that's just an
yeah.
optical window. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another big advantage for those people who do have DSLRs with the optical windows, when you go to a mirrorless, is you would now have an electronic viewfinder. So you're actually looking at another screen, just like you are in the back of your camera. Now you have two of them:
Mm,
a smaller one when you don't want to waste battery power and so on, and a larger one if you do want to be able to see it. And the other advantage of that is when you're looking through that little window that you're looking through, you still don't see the full frame shot. You only see a portion of it. With the electronic viewfinder, you see the whole shot. So you know that if there's something that's going to be in the edge of the shot or not. So that for
mm,
you will be a big plus because you do a lot of photography where people are in environments, and there's certain parts of environments that you're going to want in the shot, and probably certain parts
mhm.
that you're going to want not in the shot. so
Yeah.
so that's another bonus of going that way.
Mhm.
But
And you can see your adjustments happening in real time
yep,
with this mirror. Yeah, that's a big thing
yeah,
to have.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a number of things that you also talked about fatigue carrying the bulk of the camera,
Mhm.
and that when mirrorless cameras first came out, that was one of the things that they were suggesting was that it was going to be a lighter weight camera body simply because you don't have the mirror mechanisms anymore. You can thin the body
Yep.
up because you don't have that
Mhm.
stuff you have to play with because the lenses will actually get closer to the sensor. So because that's
Yeah.
smaller that way and more compact, it became lighter. And of course, now with the new lenses, now you've got some EF lenses, some of the DSLR
Mhm.
lenses that you got with your camera, and even
Yeah,
they
they're
can
vintage
be,
now. They're
yeah,
beefy.
they can be
Yeah.
beefy and heavy. And then that's another nice
Yeah.
thing about going to the mirrorless lenses, at least in the
Mhm.
Canon brand. I'm not sure about others, but I'm assuming it's the same. They are lighter. They're lighter to use, and
Yeah.
so the overall feel and lightness of it is actually gotten quite a bit better. Those are probably some of the things that are important.
Yeah.
If you like to shoot um, sunsets, sunrises, you
Hmm.
don't look through an optical finder with your DSLR because you can do damage to your eye because you're looking at the
Right.
real light hitting a mirror going into your eye. You could damage your vision. Of course, by having the monitor in that viewfinder instead, you can
Oh,
look right at the sun because
awesome.
it's only going to be as bright as
Yeah.
whatever it is, and it'll just blow out. But it's not going to get
Yeah.
bright to the point where it hurts your eyes. So if you're a person that likes
Yeah.
to do landscapes early morning and late evening and sunset sunrises, then that's another
Mhm.
huge advantage.
It's
And
huge.
yeah, and I tell you what, here's a little quick story. You get so used to it. I was at Spooner with another gal, showing her how to shoot the sun through the trees and how to get the
Yep.
starburst. And I grabbed her camera. So, oh, just a minute, let me show you. And didn't I look at the sun through her? I'm like, oh no,
Oh,
I forgot because I got so
blinded.
used to it and I took it for granted.
Oh my
But anyway, so be
yeah,
careful with that one. So
good to know. So, you know, I personally, the weight adjustment for me would be enough to change systems. I've done like so the R6 has seems to be a good mirrorless camera to jump to from the 5D Mark III. I've
mhm,
done lots of reading on, articles and people posting like weddings, landscape, everything except for real estate seems to be like this camera can do it all. So I feel confident that the quality is there and maybe better,
mhm.
at least the same. Because I do find the quality of the Mark III that the DSLR I have is so good. But people might say, well, then why don't you just switch? Is pricey to switch. So, but I think we do have some hacks around that, right? Especially if you are staying within your own system.
Yep, we do. We do
So,
indeed.
yeah, so for me, I almost have more value in my lens collection than I do my body.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's actually a good point. So the question is, do I replace my camera or do I replace my glass or do I
mm,
replace both? And if you've got good glass, now you sent me a photo last night and it was so super clean. It was unbelievable. And I thought, how much better are you going to get changing that lens? And I don't know that you're going to get any better than what I saw in that image, right?
I don't
So,
have an issue with the quality of my camera. Yeah.
but that was the lens and the camera combination that gave you that.
Mhm.
So if you
Was that the
switch
welder photo? Was that the
the,
welder
the one
photo?
that we're going to use for the thumbnail on the YouTube,
Oh yes, that's a 50 mil. A 50 mil.
50 millimeter, and it was shot with your 5D Mark III, and
Hmm.
it's as good as anything I've ever shot with my mirrorless cameras. So therein, a lot of people get into that dilemma, and here's one of the things we want to talk about is this a need or is this a
Hmm.
want? Now, in your case, I think you've already stated that it's a need because of your physical issues that you're having because of the weight.
Truly.
But if you were Hulk Hogan and weight
Right.
didn't matter, um,
Yeah.
shooting with what you're shooting in terms of the picture quality that you got from that shot, and is evident in all of the photos you take that you're not lacking in picture quality at all. So when you're out there thinking about this, and the reason we're bringing this up conversationally is because this is what we were talking about is, first of all, do I need to replace what I have?
Mhm.
And I think the question or the answer to that is when you get to the point where and Mark said it last week, when you get to the point that you've got that so down and you think you're limiting yourself now based on the technology that you have, then it's time to make that change. Now, do
Mhm.
you make the change in the body or the
Mhm.
glass or both? So, Kate, we talked about the glass, and what were some of our solutions to that?
Well, I believe and I hope that all camera companies have this, but I believe for Canon, you can get little adapter rings, I think, that you can put between the camera body and your existing lens.
Yep.
And they're, I would say, quite a bit more affordable than buying a lens. So
Absolutely.
like for me, the features that I want in a new camera, like the tracking, the weightless, not weightless, but weightless, and silence, those are going to come from the
Yeah.
camera body.
Yeah.
So for me,
Exactly.
it makes sense to change the body,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that might not be the case for everyone.
No, and most manufacturers do have the adapters that come with them. And for those who don't know what that is, all that is just a little. It's just a little adapter. It's a spacer, is all it is. Because when
Mhm.
you get a mirrorless camera, the lens sits closer to the sensor. But when you're using the older lenses on the newer cameras, you need to create that space that that lens wants. So you're just
Mm,
putting a little spacer in there, creating that space. That's all it's doing. So, but for $150, you get to keep your glass. So, and
right.
then and you priced some lenses that you liked, and how much were
I did.
they?
Um, Let me just look at my little reference picture that I have. Um,
Yeah,
One
and
sec.
talk about the focal length and stuff too. Why you like the lens you
I
do, and
will.
why, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Where am I here? One sec. So I just kind of base this off of focal lengths that I already have.
Hmm.
So my favorite lens that I have is my 85 millimeter. Um, and that brand new mirrorless for a mirrorless body that comes in. And this is my 85 millimeter 1.2. So it is, I call it my stick of butter. It comes in at a cool $3,000.
Wow.
So that's more expensive than the body because I have the R6 M2, and this was back in the winter. So I don't know if now we're at M3. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
That came in, and these are all taken from Henry's.ca or .com, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And so the body was 2,800.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the other lens I looked at was 24 to 70 millimeter. So I
Hmm.
have that in my bag, and that came in at 2,900. And then I did look at a 35 millimeter macro,
Hmm.
and that seems so cheap. It came in at $500,
Yeah.
like pennies. So anyways, it all added up. If I was to replace everything I had, honestly, that doesn't even include the 50 mil. I didn't even put my 50 millimeter on here because I figured it would just be covered under the 24 to 70 millimeter, which isn't really how that works, but $9,800.
Wow.
So it's just not that is not an option for most people, including myself, just to do that.
Right.
So
So,
yeah,
and that, you know what? When I made the switch, I had the same issue that you did, or same dilemma,
yeah,
and that I was going from a DSLR to mirrorless, and but I knew about the adapter, so I bought that immediately with the camera because in fact, I
okay.
was using Sigma lenses. I wasn't even using Canon lenses. I was using Sigma
Hmm.
stuff, and Sigma for Canon, and it worked out beautifully. So don't be afraid of that, folks out there. To go to those adapters, and don't buy the knockoffs. Buy the manufactured ones.
Yeah.
Buy, whoever your manufacturer is, and they work flawlessly. I have not had a
Mhm.
problem using an adapter on any of my lenses, whether it be a Canon EF or the
Cool.
Sigmas. Played around with a
Okay.
Tamron. They all worked
Cool.
extremely well, so that's not an issue. And so you can save yourself in Kate's issue. Here we're talking, what, $6,000
Yeah.
because she's already got the
But
glass.
yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but maybe change
Yeah.
it down the road.
And yeah, and it's so hard to make that call for anybody else because it's such a case by case basis,
Hmm.
because deciding what lens you then invest in could depend on, what are you primarily doing. And you'd be amazed. And I've talked to, like, I'm just gonna say wedding photography because I find myself changing my I don't know if I should say this, but it's going on the internet, so here it is. I find myself changing lenses at a wedding almost most infrequently than any other time because I have it down. Like I have usually it's one focal length, for all the family photos, for the couples, for those kind of photos. I'm
Mhm,
usually using my 50 or 35. I find like that's great, like with my 1.2, 1.4.
mhm.
And during the ceremony, it just depends where the ceremony is, right? Like you may want to use your telephoto then, or sometimes I still just use a 35
Yeah,
because it's such a great length and it's light, and it has that great aperture that I love. You may not need as many lenses as you think. But I wish I had known that and been more confident in that as a beginner,
mhm,
and just really maybe experimented more with what my perfect focal length is,
yeah,
kind of thing. So I know some people just use a 50 for everything. That's wild.
yeah. Well, and then your feet
But
become your telephoto part of it, right? Because you gotta
thanks.
walk
Yeah.
up if you need it closer, you gotta walk back if you
Yeah.
don't. But the
Sure.
thing about a prime lens is they're generally clearer, and you can usually
Mm,
get them, more efficient. In other words, you can get that buttery
yeah.
background that you want.
Sure. But it's
And
a
in
great
fact
way if you're on your butt. Yeah, sorry.
no, no,
If
go
you're on a
ahead.
budget, you could. It's something to consider.
Yeah. So here are some questions that you should probably ask yourself when you're thinking about either making a purchase for your first camera body and lens. You may be looking for a kit if you're starting out because you probably don't have a lens yet, or if you're looking
Mm,
to make that upgrade. So let's look at this. So first thing you want to consider is let's evaluate your needs. So what do we mean by that? So if you are a beginner, or sorry, are you a beginner? Are you a hobbyist? Or are you a professional? So once you decide which one of those you fall in, then that's going to automatically eliminate a whole bunch of things. And I've always thought that I always think in categories of three. Am I in good, better, or best? So good being beginner, better being hobbyist, and best being a professional. So once you decide that, then you kind of know which way you're going. If you're a professional, you're probably already into bodies and stuff anyway. But if you're a beginner, then where do I start? Okay, so the image quality expectations. So do you need a high resolution camera and or not? And what we mean by a high resolution camera, for those who are just starting out, it's a camera with a lot of pixels. So in Kate's case, I think what do you have on your camera now is 22.5 million pixels, which in today's
mhm,
cameras is a mid to low resolution, but they're good pixels, good sensor, so you're going to get great
mhm,
quality. But if you're going to go out and shoot stuff and you're going to want to print it, then you may want to go to a higher resolution sensor. So some sensors now keeping without getting into medium format like the Hasselblads and that, which we're not going to talk about
mhm,
today, but getting into the prosumer stuff or the stuff that we use on most people use, 45 to 50 megapixels. You can get now they make huge files, but if you're looking to do some really like the R5 from Canon, that's a 45 megapixel. And let me tell you, if I take a shot of me halfway across the room, I got all kinds of croppability, so I can blow that thing right up nice and still
mhm,
not lose resolution. Or if I want to take that and actually make a huge print, then I would consider that. So consider resolution. How important is that to you? Or am I just the kind of person that likes to take the pictures like a lot of birders will do and just share them online?
yep,
And that's what they want
yep,
to do. So they're happy even just shooting JPEG, right?
mhm,
Um, Performance requirements. Now here's one. Now, Kate, I want to ask you this.
mm.
Do you need a fast shutter speed in your photography?
Uh, okay, so that's something else that has come up with considering a new camera. It is something that's low on my radar.
Hmm.
I I barely have ever used burst shooting on the camera I have now.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not saying that's right. Like I honestly forget that it's there, and maybe I should have in past situations. So weddings would be a great example of that. But another reason I haven't in situations such as a wedding is because it's so dang loud on my camera. Like I don't want to sit like a machine gun when the bride is coming down the aisle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it has not been a priority of
Okay.
mine.
So
Yeah.
if you're not like a sports photographer who's needing to shoot fast action, if you're not a like a wildlife photographer that shoots a lot of fast moving animals, that kind of stuff, then the speed is not something that you need to really consider. So the frame per second count that you buy on your camera may not be a priority for you, and in Kate's case, it's not. But for myself, who shoots a lot of bird stuff, I'm bursting all the time, so I need as fast rate as I possibly can. So that's a consideration. Let's see what else. Image stabilization. Now,
Mhm.
your lenses, are they stabilized? Do you know?
I don't think they are. My lenses are even older than my camera.
Okay.
So
So
I
so that being said, stabilization is something that's important if you're going to handheld and shoot a lot of stuff by holding your camera, and you'll eventually find out what your ability to hold a camera without getting picture shake is, and you'll learn how to use your shutter speed, and eventually you'll find the minimum shutter speed that you can actually hold your camera
yeah,
and take your picture. So
yeah.
without the stabilization, and for those who don't know what that is, that's basically designed to counteract your handshake. Now for years and years they had that put on lenses, so the lens would have stabilization in the lens, but now they also
Mhm.
have it built into the bodies called IBIS, which is in-body image stabilization. So when you're out there buying your camera, if you're going to be using long lenses, taking, shots, maybe you're a concert photographer and you need to get a long ways away, maybe you're a second shooter at a wedding and you're way back at the room and you want to get that kind of stuff, then the in-body image stabilization is good, because the more you
Mm,
magnify, the more evident the handshake is going to be, or the movement's going to be in your camera. So now you can get it in both body and lenses. And when you make your adjustment up, Kate, if you
yeah,
decide to go to that R6, it's got that image stabilization in it, and that will allow you to slow your shutter speed down more. So if you're shooting that scene at night where everybody's got the sprinklers going, after the wedding, and you want to be able
yeah.
to get that without losing a lot of definition in the dark areas, you can slow your
Mhm.
shutter speed down and have it open more and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a consideration.
Oh, I've lost shots for that reason. So
Yeah,
it's something I look forward to having.
yeah. So there's lots of things to consider. Um, so my gosh, I can't believe
I
we're
knew it would
at the
have
end
to.
of this
This
already.
is
I we
almost a
haven't even,
2 segment. Yeah.
it's going to have to be, because there's too much to talk about. So we've
Yeah.
only got a few minutes left. So let's talk about what's going to be happening on next week's show.
Okay, cool. We have our second guest, and he is St. John. I believe he's St. John origin. Anyways, photographer. His name is Logan Hudson, and he's a jack of all trades photographer. It's hard to assign him a category. So he's gonna be on our show next week to so we can pick his brain about his process and his vision. So looking forward to that. And then
Perfect.
I think you have a announcement, don't you, Paul?
All right. So we actually have to wrap up. But before we do,
Oh,
we're going to continue this conversation, because it's not something you can do in a couple of minutes. So we will
no.
continue this again. Thanks for all that info, Kate. But I wanted to say, if you want to find us, you can find us. There we go. Send in your information for what you want to see on the show to snapshots and stories at outlook.com. You can see us on YouTube. You can see us on Facebook. And now you'll be able to see us on Rogers as well. And our first episode on Rogers will be on the 12th of this month. So now there's 3 places that you can find us. So that's our big announcement for this week. And our conversation, I think, was really, it gets a little deep talking about cameras and stuff, because there's so much to talk about. So we're going to continue that next week. We're excited to talk with Kyle. That's going to be a really awesome talk. And other than that, I think we're going to wrap. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you so much. Kate, thank you for all what you put together into that for us. And I can't wait to talk more about it. And we'll see you guys next week on the next episode of Snapshots and Stories.